Pear Deck is a super cool tool that I've only learned about recently myself, but it helps make your slides more interactive. So you can do things like quizzes and polls, have your students work together on slides. So I think it's a really fun tool. I'm excited to use it with you guys today. So if you've never used Pear Deck before, you can create a teacher account. It's fairly quick to create your account. It is free. There is an upgrade, but actually so far I've been able to do everything that I've needed to do using the free version of Pear Deck. And they give you a free trial upgrade. And according to our member of our team, Tina, she said that she just keeps renewing her free upgrade and they've never actually charged her any money. So that might be a workaround for people who are looking to use the premium tools and not want to pay. Frankly, I don't even know how much it costs because I've just used the free version and the free version is amazing. So if you would like to go to peardeck.com, you're going to do teacher login and then choose login with Google. And then there's a few questions it's going to ask about grade levels, school district, that kind of thing. So go ahead and take a moment to create your account. The next thing you're going to need to do after you create your account on Pear Deck is to install the add-on on slideshow, on your slide deck. So if you want to go to any Google slide deck that you've created, or you can open up a brand new fresh one to add an add-on on slide decks on Google Slides, you're going to open your slideshow. You're going to go to add-ons, get add-ons. Then Pear Deck should be one of the first few that pops up, but you can also search for Pear Deck and then click on it to install. So that just takes a moment to do also. Once it's added on, you go back to your add-ons, then you go to Pear Deck for Google add-ons and open Pear Deck. So those are the things you need to just get started. You need to create your teacher account on Pear Deck, and then you need to add the add-on to Google Slides. This only works with Google Slides or PowerPoint. If you are a Microsoft fan, you can use it there. I'm assuming the tools work very similarly, but I won't really be talking about PowerPoint at all today. All right. When you're on the Google or the Pear Deck homepage, excuse me, there's a couple of different things that you can do here. You can create a lesson right here from Pear Deck, and it opens up a blank presentation like this with a home page that shows you the steps for how to create your Pear Deck lesson. You can also, from the Pear Deck homepage, do a pop-up activity, which is a pre-done, ready-to-go activity. It's something super short usually, but if you click on those, you just click choose a prompt. Let me just show you the rest of the tools that are on the Pear Deck website. This was from the quick prompt activities. So there's a whole bunch of beginning of class, during class, end of class activities that are ready to go. You can just choose one of these, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Let's talk about how to update your slides using the Pear Deck tools. So I'm going to go back to I've been using this of Mice and Men slide deck for many years to teach students about who John Steinbeck was and what the Great Depression was, just as a little background knowledge thing. So I decided to update this one with some of the Pear Deck add-ons. So once I've clicked add-on and once I've clicked the open Pear Deck, you get this little bar on the right-hand side with a couple of tools. So there's a couple of ways that you can add Pear Deck slides in or edit your existing slides. When you choose the template library, which is this big blue button at the top here, it's going to give you some options for beginning of lesson slides, during lesson, end of lesson. It's going to give you options for critical thinking slides, social emotional, and then it even has example questions from different content areas. So there's questions for the littles, for math, science, social studies, world languages, and ELA. If you click on any of these sections here, it'll give you a whole bunch of slides that you literally just click on to insert into your slide deck. And I know it's really small to see the little thumbnail here, but this first one says, as you come in and get settled, follow these instructions. So let's say I want to present this to my students and have them do something as they prepare for class that day. And then I would put this on the board, and I'll show you how to put it on the board in a moment. And so this will be the first thing that they see. And then what you can do once you've clicked on the created slide and it pops over to your slide deck is you can edit any piece of this except for this little pair bar at the bottom. So this little pair guy and this little students write your response thing, don't touch that because that's the instruction to Pear Deck to run that as a Pear Deck slide. But the rest of this you can edit. You could add words here. You can change these things. These would obviously need to be changed for a digital world versus an in-person world. Okay, so once you've created or added one of these slides from over here on the right, you can then edit them over here. So here's another one that I included that says, draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic. So what this is going to do, it's going to give students a space to write or draw directly on the slide deck. And I'll show you how that works in just a moment. I just wanted to show you some of their very cool pre-made slides that are ready to go. Here's another one. How is the homework assignment? They're going to be given a little dot and they're going to drag it to one side or the other. And again, you can edit this to change the wording, make it a different question completely, but then you've got these little symbols ready to go and you've got the tool ready to go. You can also not use a template, but use the tools on a slide that you've already created. So let's say I want to take this background knowledge about John Steinbeck, and I want them to draw on top of it. So now I'm going to click the draw button under where it said ask students a question. And it's going to allow students to draw directly onto the slide. So now I click update slide, and it's adding the interactive question to the slide. And now I can see at the bottom, this little pair guy shows up. So that's how I know students will now be able to write on this slide. Now, what are students going to write on the slide? I'm going to have to tell them to. So maybe I want to write a direction here that says something, or maybe I want to tell them during my Google Meet, underline 2 things you think are important, or something like that. So you can use these tools to make any of your slides from your presentation that you've already created. You can make any of your slides interactive. Students can add text. Students can do a multiple choice. Students can write a number, add a website, draw, or do a draggable option, which would allow them to drag something to somewhere. I think what's easiest is if you guys just actually see this and do it with us. So I'm going to go ahead and start a lesson to show you what it looks like. So let's pretend that everything is good to go here on my slide deck. I've created all of my slides. Everything's perfect, ready to go. I'm going to click this green start lesson box up here at the top. And then as a teacher, you get to decide, is this a student-paced activity? Is this the kind of thing where I want students to go through it at their own pace? This could be something you would assign for asynchronous learning. Maybe you've got a slide deck with notes that you want them to interact with for front-loading homework type activity. You would assign it as student-paced. Maybe it's a quiz and you want them to all do the quiz at their own pace during a Google Meet, knowing that they have to turn it in 30 minutes. That could be student-paced. An instructor-paced activity means that you are in control of which slide your students see. So this would be good if you're doing an activity where you want them to all be literally on the same page at the same time. So I'm going to do that first to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to click instructor-paced activity. And then it's going to open up a new tab. And it's going to give you a code. So what you have to do is you have to train your students how they're going to have to open a new tab and go to the presentation. So what I'd like you guys to do right now, so I can walk you through how this works as a student, is you're going to open a tab and go to joinpd.com. Joinpd.com. This is what you're going to teach your students to do also. Once you go to joinpd.com, then there's a place for you to type in a code. And you're going to type in the code KGOLGP. And Pear Deck does this cute little thing where it creates a little phrase for you. Keen grapes openly lift green pears. That's how your students know that they have gone to the correct Pear Deck. So every time you start a new lesson, a new presentation, there'll be a new code to join. So that's one way to organize it so that you only have certain classes on certain presentations. As a teacher, I can see at the bottom that I've got several students that have joined already. There's 8 so far. I can also click the invite class button and it will send a link to your Google Classroom. So that's nice that it's connected directly to Google Classroom. Gosh, I think I might regret this just because it's going so slow. Okay, so once you click the classroom button, it then lets you choose which of your classes you would like to send it to, and then you can invite that class. And you can even invite multiple classes. Oh no, just one at a time, excuse me. So you would invite that class. You can put the link, you can give students a link. So if you copy this button, you can type that into the chat. So then they don't even have to go to joinpd.com. And then open teacher dashboard, I'll show you that in a minute. Once I've started, this screen goes away. But now that I've copied that link into the chat, students can access it from the Google Meet, or if I put it in Classroom, they could access it from Google Meet. But this screen's gonna go away here in a second. So I'm gonna click the blue Start Class button. Now, as a student, you should be able to see this screen when you're on the joinpd.com tab. You could do it on the Meet tab also, but then you can't interact with it. So that Pear Deck code stays up here in the top corner, which is nice. All right, now I've got these instructions ready to go. You should see directions on your screen as a student. And it should tell you to answer in Pear Deck Answer, what was your main takeaway from the homework? So you should have a spot to write. As a teacher, I can see at the bottom how many people have responded so far. So right now I've got quite a few people that have responded. If I wanted to as a teacher, I can show the responses. If this is the kind of thing where I want to show everybody's response, like if it was a brainstorming, a gathering ideas activity, you could show the response. You could also lock screens, which would allow students to not go to a different tab. So that's kind of nice. Like GoGuardian, you can help control what your students are doing. If I click on the Show Responses tab, then it goes through all of the students' responses. Then you click Hide Responses and you get back to your presentation. You can use the arrows at the bottom to go through your presentation with your students. This one's a fun one. So now I've pushed you forward to the next one. So even if you didn't answer the first question, and we know there are slow students in your classes who will need more time, so that's that pacing thing you're gonna have to work on as a teacher. Now they can draw or type 2 things they already know about today's topic. So this would be fun for your multimodal learners who like to draw instead of write. If you've got touchscreen Chromebooks, this would be nice. I'm sure you've tried drawing with your little trackpad on your laptops. It's not great. This does work with iPads. So if you've got iPad students, they could use their finger on their iPads to draw also. So I can see quite a few people have responded. I can show the responses again. Let's see. So that's a lovely drawing. Beautiful. You can see students have different colors they can choose. There's the eraser. There's all sorts of fun tools they can use there. Let me find, okay. So this is a good one because it's nice to see how students can drag the icon. So how was the homework assignment? This is a good, you know, update with your students to see how they're doing. And if I show responses, it shows me, this is kind of cool. I can see you guys moving in real time, your little dots. So you could do like a true false thing. There are, you know, on a scale of 1 to 5 type questions. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do this with the draggable responses. All right. I'm going to move you on to the next slide if that's okay. I want to get through a couple more of these tools. So in this one, since I made this drawable, let's just say that the directions are to underline 2 important things. So I just want to see how it looks for you guys to draw on the slide. I'm a teacher. I can look at the student responses and I can see them highlighting, students highlighting. So how great is that to have your students interacting with the information? And then as a teacher, I can see anonymously how we're doing so far. So at this point, it's anonymous because I forgot to click show email addresses. I don't know if I have any more good ones I necessarily want to go through. Okay, so this is what a true or false one would look like. All right, so this is what it would look like as a teacher if I do show responses on this page. It's a bar graph of how many chose true, how many chose false. So that would be a nice check-in as a teacher. I don't know if I have any multiple choice on here. Ooh, this was one that I got from the Pear Deck pre-created lessons, considering different point of views. So this would be a nice way for students to talk about what they know and talk about what somebody else knows. So you can see as a teacher, you can really control the pace of the lesson by how quickly you go through the slides. So maybe on one slide you've got information, and on the next slide they interact with it, they write, they draw, you ask them a question. So you can really use this during your Google Meet to help control and engage your students with the activity. Let's see what, the markers are a little thick. I have a hard time with that. I like when you have the ability to have thinner markers. So, but as far as a student's view goes, this is good enough to get quite a bit accomplished with what you would like. All right, so let's pretend we've gone through the whole lesson. I've gone through the whole slide deck. At the end, you then click the end button down in the corner. You can also click on the 3 little dots and you can see your choices. As a teacher, you have the choice to open up the dashboard in a new window. You can turn on student pace. So let's say my meet time is up, my synchronous time is up, and I need to give this to students to finish up later. I can then turn on student pace and allow them to finish it without me having to go through the rest of it. You can also just click the end button down here or the end button right here where it says end the session. When you end the session, it gives you the choice to give it a title. You can publish student takeaways. This is a cool tool that you can use. Let's say you ran this as a quiz. If you choose publish student takeaways, you can send students their answers. This allows you to create a individualized document for every student that was in the session. Then you click save and end session.
Kristen, a teacher is asking, how will students know their work has been entered?
If it's a draggable one, wherever you drag it, that's where it shows up, it's been saved. If it's a typing one, I think you have to click like add another response for it to pop over. If it's a multiple choice, they just click on the A, B, C, or D, and then it'll automatically save that. All right. So after I clicked end, it's now allowing me to save it. So I would choose my Drive account that I want to save it to. And then it wants access, so I have to allow it. And now it's going to find a link to takeaways. So I think I forgot to show you. So you can share this with your Google Classroom. You can return to your slides, or you can share that link that's right here if you want to share it with your students. But it's going to take me back here. So now I've got 2 tabs open with this. All right, so what I forgot to show you when you start your lesson, if you click on these 3 little bars next to the Start Lesson button, there's a few settings that you want to make sure are turned on. I like to make sure that students are logged into their emails. This helps you with the student takeaway file so that you know which student did which interaction. So make sure that you turn on student emails. You can also publish and share your lesson. So maybe you've created this beautiful slide deck and you want to share it with the world. You can publish it to the Pear Deck website. And then you can click on the review session afterwards. So now that we're done with the session, I can open this up and review what my students answered. It actually shows you all of the sessions you've done for the last 30 days. This is on the Pear Deck website. So here's that session that I just ended that I called Practice of Mice and Men. So it's showing me that it's closed. I have some that I started earlier for practice that are still live or student paced. So you can go in and close those at any time. This was on the Pear Deck homepage. You're actually going to go up here to the sessions button in the top left corner to get to this page, or click on it from your slide deck. So there's a couple of ways to get to it. So like this live session here that I started, I can go to the three little dots and I can end the session or turn it on to student paced. So let's say from today's lesson with my students, oops, we ran out of time and I forgot to make it student paced so that they can finish it up. Now I can go to the three little dots. I can either reopen the session, do the takeaways from here, export it to a spreadsheet. So I think this opened up all of the students' answers. So now I can see it as a teacher, all of the answers that the students gave. So I know that was a lot so far. Let me just pause and ask questions then. How are you guys doing? What do I need to recover?
One teacher's asking if you can show how to do the takeaways.
Yes, let's figure that out. So I'm going to go to review sessions from my slide deck. So let's go to the three little dots next to our practice session that we just did. The takeaways is a premium tool, but remember, if you just keep clicking on the free upgrade, the free 30-day trial, it should keep working. Okay, so let's open it up in the drive. So it's going to take up to an hour to generate the takeaway. Obviously, we don't have time for this, but it would be a thing you could do later. It's got the progress bar. We'll come back to this later and see if it's done. Let's see what happens when I open it in a spreadsheet. So I'm going to export that session to a spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet is great because if you did a quiz with like numerical answers or ABC answers or short response answers, you could use Flubaroo to grade your quiz for you. So I could see using this instead of Google Forms to do a quiz as maybe a more engaging way to do like a formative assessment. So here's the spreadsheet. Since we did a lot of drawings, it's not going to give me a whole lot of answers that are usable, but you could see how this could be usable if you did something with a written response. Then you would have access to what they wrote. If they did multiple choice, it would say multiple choice, and then it would say A, B, C, D. And then you could grade it from here. Flubaroo is a great add-on. I don't know if I have time to cover that today as we're getting to the end of the session, but that's a great way to grade from your spreadsheet. Okay, I did want to cover, there's a few more tools that are good to use. So this was to export the student answers. If you go back to the Pear Deck homepage, I hope that you guys can see that there are so many different ways that you could use Pear Deck to make your lessons engaging. I had fun playing around with it. Okay, so there's a couple of things on the Pear Deck homepage that are also helpful. This Pear Deck vocabulary creates this really cool game where you can upload your vocabulary lists, and you can then play a game with them. There, at the bottom, there are tools, including help videos, remote teaching resources. It's also got all of your files from down here. So it links to your Google Drive, so you can open them directly from here. If you keep going down, there's some more templates to use. So they've got a lot of really cool stuff. They've paired with Be Internet Awesome, which is a really great resource to help you help your students, you know, be good at the internet, you know, stay safe, not bully each other, all those sorts of things. So another way to get to the Be Internet Awesome stuff is if you go to your Pear Deck on your drive and you've opened up the add-on. Let me close that. You can scroll down in the sidebar on the right here, to the Be Internet Awesome tab and then actually add to Drive a whole bunch of already created presentations that are ready to go. So when I go to my Drive, because clearly I'm not going to click on that, it's got 4 different folders that it adds to your drives. There's one in Spanish, there's slide decks, there's educator resources, and then there are vocabulary lists. So this Be Internet Awesome is super great to help your students how to be better at using the internet. I like the slide decks because they're also organized by standard. So they've got share with care, don't fall for fake. So if you go into any one of these lesson folders, and they're all very clever and they're very beautifully made. They all have this page up front that's reminding you to add Pear Deck. And then the Be Internet Awesome Lesson 1, Part 1, because these tools are amazing. And then they're already made and you don't have to do anything. So here are the activity goals. Understand what kinds of personal information should be kept private. Remember that everyone deserves their secrets. Identify other types of personal information. There's activities. There's the Pear Deck built in because you can see the little pear guy at the bottom. And then it's got, so these Be Internet Awesome activities are great. What a great way to have pre-created lessons for you about internet safety that you can do with your students. I wanted to show you guys one more presentation that I created. So what I did here was I used the ask a question buttons here. I didn't use the pre-created ones. And you can actually add audio to slide also. So what you do is you click on the add audio to slide button, and then you can record whatever directions you want to record. You could even, maybe read a story to them. And then it puts this little button up top so that students can click it. So I'm going to start the lesson, and this time I'm going to make it student paced, just so that you can see the difference and how you can click through to the end.
One person asking where Internet Awesome is found, just in that sidebar and slides with Pear Deck open, correct?
Yeah, it's also on the Pear Deck homepage down at the bottom in the resources section. But frankly, I think just accessing it from the slide deck itself, that's probably the quickest. And then it adds a folder to your drive, and then it lives in your drive forever. Okay, so this is the teacher dashboard when I'm doing it student paced. And then you go to the teacher dashboard. And then the code is up here, but I think I can also share a link here. No, okay. So since I've already started this activity, so I can copy this link. Since I've already started this one, this is what it looks like the second time you use slide deck. So I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to share it in the chat. I did a little math quiz so you can see how this works outside of the English classroom. Because I think different ways to do quizzes would be nice. So now that it's student paced, that means I'm not presenting it to the class. We're not working through it at the same time. This is what I see as a teacher. I can see that there are now 7 of my students, 6 of my students on the first page. I've got 1 of my students on the second page. I can click on the pages to see how students are doing. So students wouldn't see this because I wouldn't present this to the class. I would have this open on my computer while students are going through a lesson. So this way, if they're doing a quiz during a Google Meet and we're all doing it at the same time, and I say, you've got 30 minutes to finish this quiz, I can kind of in real time see how my students are doing at the quiz. So I tried to do a variety of answer choices. So as a teacher, you can play around with what's an option for your students. So on the first slide, I had multiple choice, and I can see you are all very good at converting fractions to decimals. This is a 6th grade standard that I've worked with students on. I know that it's a hard one for them. I did a drawing one so that you could show students how to draw an answer. This one is nice. I know it's not exact because I couldn't find a number line that I wanted to use quickly, but drawing a dot. So you've got all your answers here, and I can see that everybody's about in the same spot so far. So there's all sorts of different answer choices you can do with your students. And then I wanted you guys to fill this out so that I can have ideas for how else you could see using Pear Deck in your classes. So this is what a student-paced quiz would look like, or student-paced activity. I could see putting your notes here from a lesson. And then you wouldn't want to end the student-paced activity until you were done accepting answers. So if this was asynchronous, you know, let's say I'm on the block schedule, I would present the idea on Tuesday, and then I wouldn't turn it off until Thursday the next time I see them. So you could keep that open in your Pear Deck sessions box. But watching it as a teacher, it's kind of cool because you can keep track of how your students are doing in real time as they go through an activity. Oh, I didn't even go over the flashcard factory. It's super fun. You click on this green box here for Pear Deck vocabulary, and you click create a vocab list. It opens up this page for you. And then what you can do is you can give your vocab list a title. You can enter your terms. You can choose to enter definitions or not. You can add another term here. And then once you've created your vocabulary list, you can play Flashcard Factory, which is a really fun game. All right. So once you've typed in all of your terms, you click Play Flashcard Factory. You can also import a vocab list if you've got it saved elsewhere. So that's even quicker. So once you click on Play Flashcard Factory, it gives you a new code. So your students would have to go to joinpd.com and then type in the new code and then clock in. And then it actually pairs them up so that they can work on vocabulary together. It gives them the option to draw and type an answer, and you're actually creating flashcards. And once you're done creating the flashcards, you can then save them as a list to send to your students. So that's super cool. And we know that there's vocabulary in all content areas. You could do social emotional words, vocabulary words from your textbook chapter. As an English teacher, I love teaching root words. Root words are always my favorite to learn. And then you would click clock in and start playing the game. And the game's really fun. The kids, I think, really enjoy it. And then at the end of the game, you can vote on who does the best flashcards in order to create your flashcard deck. It used to be you could send them to Quizlet, but they've changed the company that they've paired with, and the new company that they send them to for quizzes is a paid subscription, so we won't be talking about that one. So you can actually group your students. It's the day shift and the night shift. I just think they're cute. This Pear Deck stuff is awfully adorable. You could shuffle the teams, and then you click play, and then this is the students would then see one of the words, and they'd have to come up with the definition and a picture for each one on their flashcard. So then after the students do the flashcard, they submit it, and it should pop up on the little conveyor belt at the bottom eventually. Here we go. So you can see the flashcard pops up at the bottom there in the conveyor belt. So the more students you have, the more flashcards you'd have on the conveyor belt. And then as the teacher, you click on quality control. And then you could vote as a class to say, yes, this is a good flashcard, or no, this is not a good flashcard. And then you go to ship. So yeah, GimKit, that's the new one that they've paired with. I'm not in love with it because it is a paid subscription. So unfortunately you can't do that, but you can print it. So after you've created your flashcards, you can print them to a PDF and then share that on your Google Classroom or your Seesaw class to have your flashcards available for students to use. And student created tools are always great because then they can see their drawing and remember what they did better than if you just did it for them. All right, so that's the Flashcard Factory. That's the vocabulary. I think it's a super cute game that's integrated in on the Pear Deck homepage. Yeah, and I do think this does take a little bit of practice, Cynthia. I had to just sit down with one of my lessons and just figure out, what do I want my students to get out of the lesson? How can I use some of the Pear Deck pre-created slides to make it happen? And then you just insert the slides and then delete them if they're bad, if you go, oh, that's not gonna be helpful. And it does take a little bit to get comfortable with it. But I think it's a great tool to engage students and do things in a fun visual way, which I think we all need in this digital space.